Always live, presented by Pickett Sports, Sleeper Picks, Hall of Fame bets. We got Brian, Josh. You guys in the chat, feel free to hit us up. Questions, comments, be part of the show, guys. It's a great day. We got a bunch of baseball games. I guess we'll start with the NFL game last night. It wasn't pretty, kind of went how we expected. The Seahawks win. What were you guys' takeaways from last night?
It went as I expected, but I really thought, because I did have some stock in Darren Waller and Jones rushing attempts or whatever. Jones ran perfectly fine, but I was a little upset. I trusted Darren Waller. I really thought they'd be down and throwing the ball, but I didn't expect them to be down throwing the ball with absolutely zero success against a soft Seahawks defense. I thought I was going to get some garbage time yards from Darren Waller, but he just was non-existent. The whole offense was. It was tough to watch.
They have a bad offensive line. They have a
I
good
couldn't
defensive
notice.
line.
I couldn't
That's
notice
it.
it. What,
That's
11
it.
sacks?
They have the worst wide receiver core in the league. Don't try to tell me anyone's is worse. This was an easy game to pick from the side of Seattle. And the only thing that didn't hit for me last night was a tiny little sprinkle on 2 touchdowns for Kenneth Walker. Everything else was like pretty easy to kind of understand how it was going to go in terms of Walker doing his thing and eventually in the yards, but most importantly getting the touchdown. And just the Seahawks, that spread was wrong. It was completely wrong. That's all.
Yeah.
We talked all summer. The Giants were a candidate for worst record. I don't know. We'll get there, but they
I was about to
might have a
say, I
chance.
feel a little better
trying.
about. I mean, it's a sprinkle. Was it 30-1? And I put like $10 on it, whatever it is, to win 3 units. It's really just a fun bet for me to have in the account. But the more you watch it, I mean, I'll ask you right now, they're 1 win, similar to the team that was a short favorite, it's the Cardinals. What team looks better? It's surely not the Giants that's looking better.
No, they're on par with the Bears and the Broncos at this point.
At this
They're
point,
the
I would even
Bears,
put
the
at least the
Broncos.
Bears moved the ball last week. That's
Well, the Giants haven't been allowed to play the Broncos or Bears defenses yet, so whatever. But yeah, that they're all vying for it, and they're the other bet that I had made was like the Broncos to have the most improvement on their season, increase win by
How's
their
that
wins by
going?
the most. Don't think that's going to happen, but it certainly ain't going to be the Cardinals or maybe the Cardinals, but not the Bears. That's for sure. So can still feel good about that. But yeah, overall takeaway, like I think Seattle is a little bit better than people give them credit for. I know the defense doesn't look good, but either the Giants are always going to make them look that good. That's really it. So
Updated season win total for the Giants, 5.5 wins. They're at Miami, then at Buffalo. They still got to play Philly twice. They got to play Dallas. I would go under. Look, if we're saying they're a 4 or 5 win team, there's no reason they can't win 3 and be in the mix for the first pick. I'd still play under 5.5. And look, it's not all his fault. It's a bad offensive line, like you said, bad receivers. I would have never paid Jones. They're stuck with that contract. Wouldn't be me. Would not be me. If they could have a do-over and you gave them true serum, they probably would take the do-over.
Probably. And find me what, so they need 5 more wins. Find me 5 wins on that schedule. Like there's going to be 50-50 games with like maybe the Packers and the Raiders kind of thing. Like there's a few teams that are at least as good as them, if not a little bit better. And that's it. And they're not better than anybody they're playing down the stretch.
FanDuel has 6.5 for the Giants, but it's locked both sides. It's locked both sides. I guess they're going to change it. But when I saw 6.5 on when I was shopping lines, I immediately ran to FanDuel, but it's locked. So that'd be. I don't even care what the juice would be. If they had a 6.5 at minus 200, I'd still play. I'd still play the under there.
No way they're winning 6 more games.
Yeah.
Go through the schedule. Like I said, at Dolphins, at Bills, that probably puts you at 1-5. Then home versus the Commanders, winnable, but not a gimme. Home versus the Jets, winnable, but not a gimme. At the Raiders, same thing. Then at the Cowboys, at the Commanders, home for the Patriots, home versus the Packers, at the Saints, at the Eagles, home versus the Rams, home versus the Eagles. So there's a few 50-50 there. They'll probably get to 3, 4, maybe they get to 5. I don't know if they get past 5, though.
Ain't no way.
Yeah.
Ain't no way. Though there were 5 games that I would say it was more like 55-45 against them. And so yeah, I would love an under on the Giants there.
Yeah, minus 150 for that 5.5 too. Yeah, damn, that's unfortunate if you're trying to bet that, because I think last week it was 6.5 and we're kind of talking about taking the under, and I didn't, like an idiot. So that's unfortunate. Will, before we move on to anything else, do you have any more thoughts to your running back hatred? I mean, I would have paid Saquon a contract over Daniel Jones watching this offense without him in that field. I mean, that they just, at least with him out there, there's a threat to do something, right? Without him on the field, that team is they're doing RPOs and no defense is biting in the slightest for Matt Breida to beat them between the tackles.
Well, I wouldn't have paid Barkley because Barkley didn't have a good game last night either.
That's fair.
I mean,
I'm just saying you watch him without. I
and
wouldn't
these
say
guys
give
like,
big
oh,
money.
I'm always hurt. You got to pay me. It's like, why would I pay like Eckler? These guys all complaining that they should get paid more because they're hurt a lot. It's like it's the opposite. You shouldn't get paid because you are always hurt. Like Barkley's always hurt. Eckler's always hurt. These guys they miss a lot of games, and no, I wouldn't have paid either of them.
I will reframe. I'll rephrase my statement because I don't believe you should pay running backs these huge contracts. But I definitely think if I had to make one player happy on my team between Daniel Jones or Saquon Barkley, I'd at least put more effort into the guy that is actually a threat to do something. Because Daniel Jones, like I said yesterday, outside that second half against the Cardinals, he has been just bad. Like I mean, you're talking like 100 yards a game on 34 attempts or 35. It's crazy how little they can move the ball with him throwing it.
Have you guys looked at week 5 lines at all?
A little bit.
They're a little wonky to me.
A little bit. Which ones jump out to you? I did play a couple season win totals, but what do you have for this week?
You said you want to do season win totals?
I played a couple just now. I played
go ahead.
49ers over 12.5 wins. Somebody's going to beat that team 5 different times. That team is so good.
Yeah.
And then I took under 9.5 for the Falcons. Now they're both juiced, but like again, Atlanta's going to get to 10 wins with that quarterback situation. I know the schedule and the division's pretty soft, but I mean I don't see 10 wins on that schedule. So
it's a good call.
Played a little juice, but those are 2 I played. What are you looking at for week 5?
I like that. The things that just start jumping out at me are all these freaking numbers. Like the Bills minus 5.5. It's just such a weird dead number.
Yeah.
And then the Giants are plus 11 against the Dolphins in Miami. Weird number.
I thought about it was 9 yesterday. I thought about taking it because it's a good little angle where you can fade the team the next week right before they play on Monday night, because let's say their quarterback gets hurt. Let's say they look bad. It's almost a free roll where their number's not going to get bumped up too much if something good happens, but there's a free roll where like if the quarterback gets hurt, if they look really bad, you can get an extra point or 2. And that was one where I was like, man, we all like Seattle yesterday. Could have just laid 9 with Miami yesterday and then taken plus 11 or just left it or whatever. But yeah,
that's pretty good foresight. Yeah, that would have been a good call. I can't believe that jumped so fast like that. But I mean, yeah, the loss, like you said, that's predictive.
Especially on national TV, everybody's watching. If you do that Sunday at 1 o'clock, it can blend in. But when everybody's watching and you're the butt of everyone's jokes, that's going to happen.
Some other weird numbers. Ravens minus 4. Don't hate that, to be honest.
I was going to ask about that. That was literally what I had circled with Kenny Pickett definitely not being able to play next week. Do you really think Mitchell Trubisky?
I would rather him be in there to bet on the Ravens. I know what I'm getting. What if Mitch Trubisky pulls that random first quarterback back game out of his ass?
That's fair. Do you think Mitch Trubisky still has that in the tank? I don't even know.
I don't know. Zach Wilson covered last week.
Those games are always close. Those Ravens Steelers games are always 20-17, 23-20. Tomlin,
that 4 is such a big number too.
That's what I'm saying. So fuck that 4, and then fuck the Eagles and the Rams minus 4 in LA for the Eagles. Like I hate that. I hate the Bengals minus 3 because they're probably worse than the Cardinals. And the last number I was looking at is the Jets plus 2 in Denver. I kind of like the Jets there, but I already swore off betting on Zach Wilson in any fashion. So
you mentioned you wanted to talk about week 5 lines. Did you just want to mention all the ones you hated?
I
just wanted to say the way that I opened this was saying, have you seen these lines? They're really wonky. And then Will goes, which one stood out to you? And then I just named them.
Yeah, I agree with that. That was. I think there's a lot of interesting lines. Even
we're gonna go through stuff we like through the week, So
even Sunday Night Football 3.5, the opening line there. That is a tough number. Yeah, I'm not a conspiracy theorist guy, but seeing 3.5 instead of a 2.5 almost makes me lean the Niners because I feel like that 2.5 is so. You know what I mean? Those pivot points, I almost lean the 3.5 for the favorite team when they get that line instead of the 2.5.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know you mean 3.5 is such an unattractive number to lay that it's counterintuitive. Like I hate.
It almost makes it like, oh yeah, take the Cowboys with the 3. Like it's just I don't know. Like I said, even if I don't bet it, I always see those big, marquee matchups. So I see a 3.5. I'm always like, oh, like do they really believe like there's something we're not?
You're going
seeing
deep
here?
with it. Yeah, you're going like reverse, double reverse on them. Like I know you want me to take that, so I'm not.
If you give 100 people a 3.5 on the Cowboys, they're probably 80% of them going to take the 3.5. But if you give someone a 2.5, that same people will probably take the 2.5 for the Niners.
Yeah, agreed. That's a good point.
Anything else on football before we get to baseball?
Nope.
It's here. We got man. I don't love all these teams getting into the playoffs from like just purity of, hey, you play 162 games. Why let half the sport in? I don't want it to be like the NBA or the NHL, but once you get these games, man, it's a lot of fun. We got 4 games today. Of course, it's baseball, so they overlap the games and they screw up the schedule where it's 3 o'clock Eastern, 4:30 Eastern, then 7 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Eastern. So look, it's a fun night. We'll just go series by series here. First game is Rangers Rays. Rays hosting laying minus 155, glass note against Montgomery. You have to worry a little bit, I think, about Texas's mentality here, their psyche, where it's like, man, they led this division all the way, like 98% of the season until they didn't. Now you got to, instead of getting a bye, you got to play on the road, best 2 out of 3, no Scherzer, no DeGrom, no John Gray. I just don't know that they have enough pitching to get a run, to make a run. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on this series, this game. Look, it's baseball, so who's better really doesn't matter. Best 2 out of 3, anything can happen. Best 2 out of 3, but I would lean Rays here. Brian, I'll start with you. Anything on this game or this series? Most of these series prices match the game 1 lines, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the big thing with the 3-game series is, like you said, that first game line means everything, because that's kind of telling. Because in a 3-game series, you lose game 1, you're not out of it, but man, it sure feels like you're out of it. Like it really does when you are 1 game away. So I'll lean the Rays mostly because how important that first game is. If you're having, put the bats aside, if you were to tell me who do you think you can trust to give you 6 solid innings and limit runs over Montgomery or Glasnow, I just think the Rays mash lefties so much that I don't know if I trust Jordan Montgomery coming out here, and he's been solid recently, but I don't know if I trust him to give me, like, say 5-6 quality innings to put you in a great chance to win.
Concur. Yeah, I mean, I'm all over the Rays, and in part because that
I saw your quote sheet. Your quote sheet for this show was just Rays, 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 Rays.
Exactly. That Texas bullpen is bad. It's like bottom 8 in the league bad. So you need Jordan Montgomery, who has pitched deep into games towards the end of the season, really well for them. Actually was their only good pitcher towards the end of the season. And I still don't like it. Like you said, the Rays hit lefties. If he has to go like 6, at least 7, preferably to avoid that disastrous bullpen, then I don't like it. I don't like the pressure. Glasnow's got a little bit better bullpen behind him. I mean, it's top like 15 in the league, but it's not stellar. It's still better than the Rangers. You trust that coming into here, which is probably why the Rangers will win, because it's fucking baseball in the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because I had this game circled where, what do you guys think about this? Jordan Montgomery's outs prop is 15.5.
Yes.
It was minus 150 to everywhere else, but FanDuel opened at minus 114.
Right, yeah, that's my bet.
115.
What are you looking at? Under or over? You didn't say either over or under.
What were you looking at?
I was looking at over. I know you want to fade him, but I think they have to keep him in. I think he goes over.
I think it's just one of those lines where I'll say this. I was talking to a guy on our Discord, Krusty K's. I would almost lean the under if you got a 17.5 or whatever, but because those short leashes really come in the 6th inning.
Yeah.
If he's pitching well, I think it's a lot of times it's that 6 innings is that pivot point. I don't see a lot of times in the playoffs where guys get yanked after 5. It's usually those like 5.1 innings. Oh, he allows a double, get him out of the game. It's not usually like start the inning, pull him early, if that makes sense. I see a lot of people on the under, but like I said, I would have a totally different outlook if this is a 16 or 17.5 line. But that.
What do you like at 15.5 then?
I would not touch it at 15.5. I'm saying I'm with Josh where I think.
No, I'm hitting the over.
Yeah, I would almost take over. Yeah, it's tough, but
it's just like you said, it's a whole different mentality in the playoffs. Like, hey, 2 runs in a game in July, you're fine. Like, if you, let's just say it's the top of the second and you're giving up 2 runs and you got second and third, like that bullpen's going to be going. Like especially best 2 out of 3. Like this is sort of, it's not a game 7, but like you're 2 games away from elimination here. So that really, it's a whole different set of circumstances here. So I'm looking at minus 162 on the under. I don't know. Like you said, though, here's the other thing. They don't have a good bullpen. So
that's my thing. That's where I'm going with the 15. So that's where I'm going with the 15.5 outs is put yourself in a situation, even if it's 2nd and 3rd in the 2nd inning with Jordan Montgomery on the mound, like you definitely want him to get out of that. Obviously, you give up like a crooked number in the first 2 innings, you're likely to get pulled in this situation. But if he gets through 3 and has given up 2 runs, I think you keep him in there. You've got worse pitchers behind him that cannot go as deep in games coming up. You need him to eat up innings. If he's at 3 or 4, if it's 3 or 4 to 1 in the 5th inning, I think you keep him in for that 5th and just pray to God that he gets through without giving up any more, and you take him out in the 6th. So
remember, though, and we'll move on to the other games. Like, especially once you get to a game 3, it's only 3 games. You're only using a few starters. So these starters that you don't have, in the rotation here, you could just piggyback them, and your 4th, 5th starter now becomes a long bullpen guy. So it is different. I think there will be some value on these pitcher outs going forward in the playoffs, especially when you get to a game 3 and it's like, hey, this is a game 7. We're going to piece it together. Maybe you just threw this guy one time or 2 times through the lineup. So
one thing to add there, though, Dane Dunning would be that guy, but he needs to start. So he can't
Yeah.
come in as a long reliever. He would be their number one guy to come in the third inning and just pitch 5
I'm
innings.
trying
at
to
that
think.
point.
They have Montgomery,
And
Eovaldi,
Bradford,
Dunning, and then
I will.
Heaney.
Gray's
You say Heaney?
hurt, and Heaney. Okay,
Yeah.
Heaney. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll tell you
So
this, Will.
they need Dane to start.
I
yeah.
know Will. I know Will is also like a big person that loves to have action on day baseball. Could I sell you at? I didn't realize. I just checked our sponsors, Pickett Sports, talking about how bad this bullpen is. His line has fallen minus 150 for over 14.5. Could I sell you on that? That's something I can get behind.
Who's that?
For Montgomery? That
What
5
book?
innings straight. MGM, DK, and Caesars have it
Is
14 and a
14.5.
half.
I
I
think
would probably lay
I would take the over.
I,
What?
I think 15 and a half is like you get that scary like, oh, is he coming off the 6 or not? But if you give me
Yes.
5 innings, I can probably be sold in that. Maybe as a lighter play, but something just to have for the 3 o'clock game. I actually might take the over 14 and a half.
Yep. So it sounds like we're all on the Rays. Anything else on this before we move on to Minnesota, Toronto?
Oh,
All
let's
right,
do it.
Minnesota has lost 18 straight postseason games. They're minus 115 or so. It's Gossman against Pablo Lopez. I think the streak ends today. I like their pitching. I like Minnesota. I don't know if I'm going to give this out. I did bet a Minnesota Philly World Series at 58-1. I just think this is good pitching. Lopez, Sonny Gray, and Ryan. If you look at these other teams in the American League, a lot of these teams, Baltimore, Texas, they have banged up pitching. Even Houston's pitching's not great. You can now they've put Maeda in the bullpen. Chris Paddock is back in the bullpen. The guy who was at Durant at the end of the game throws 109 miles an hour.
Nasty.
The lineup's okay.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. They got good pitching. They're kind of due. I don't know. Again, and here's the other thing. They've hit Gossman this year. Two starts for Gossman against Minnesota. 21 base runners he's allowed in these 2 starts. Give me Minnesota.
I'll say this: Gossman's one of those guys. I love the dude, but he's one of those guys where if he's on, it's almost how the hell do you hit that pitch? Like how do you hit him? Yeah, that splitter. But if he's off, it's like holy hell. When is this inning going to be over? Because he can get some really, really bad. I do think I do think the Twins, as you mentioned, Josh kind of mentioned too, the piggybacking, and same with Will with the rotation. The Twins get really helped by the 3-man rotation. I think their starting pitching works really well with that piggyback idea, where you can kind of get those 5-6 inning outings, and having your other 3 or 4 or 5 guys that can give you quality innings come in for the close.
Yep. Yeah, Minnesota's bats were supposed to be the strength of the team coming into the season. They were supposed to have bad pitching. Everybody, Maeda included, pitched above their pay grade this season. And yeah, I would agree with you that if you're going to bet on the Minnesota, or in this series specifically, like all the values with Minnesota, if you talk about what could go wrong, it's just that they don't slug. If they slugged, they got better in the last month and a half of the season, by the way. Their offense did pick up a bunch. They still strike out an ass ton, but they got better. I would say they need to slug and get a couple like really hard hit balls off of Gossman. They can do that, great. I mean, we'll see, but it's worth the values with them for sure. I love your thinking there, Will.
And Toronto's not as you think of Toronto, you think, oh man, they have this great offense. They're middle of the pack in runs scored. Guerrero only hit 25 homers or something, didn't even drive in 100 runs. He had a really down year. So I don't know. This Blue Jays team, it's a little, they're almost like the Chargers. They just leave you feeling a little lukewarm. It's like you feel like they should be better. It doesn't, they're frustrating. They're frustrating.
It's a good analogy there.
It's
a good analogy because
so?
I do think that's like, it almost is that one of those things where it's like, oh yeah, of course they're good. And then you're like, you look at the deep numbers and you're like, are they? I don't even know.
They made the playoffs, to be fair to the Blue Jays. Like
What's
at least
that?
at least the Blue Jays made the playoffs compared to the Chargers. But
Chargers made it last year.
That's true.
Yeah.
God bless you, Brandon.
I do think that we've talked about it before. I think me and Will, the last time we even tried to touch the Blue Jays offense was against the A's, and I think they had like 12 base runners.
Frustrating. Yeah,
it was a 1.5
Wednesday afternoon game. I remember.
It was a 1.5 first 5. They had 12 base runners, 1 run, and I just was like, Jesus,
you guys remember
it was that
bad.
No, it was that bad because we were texting the group chat. It was that bad where they kept getting 2 base runners an inning and just not converting.
So we all like Minnesota in this.
I like Minnesota here. Yeah. I like Minnesota.
They're getting minus 124 in this.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see them make a run. New team. They haven't won. 18 straight postseason losses. That's hard to do. So
gotta love their due theory.
I mean, look, you again, everyone be like, oh, they're due. Yeah, you would have said they're due after lost 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So like, I don't know. At some point
for a minute.
Right. Diamondbacks, Brewers, Diamondbacks plus 155 today. Again, shop around. There's some plus 160s. Fought against Burns. No, Arizona doesn't have their pitching set up. It would be Gallen game 2, Kelly game 3 because of the Saturday night where they
Yeah.
burned Kelly when they didn't need to. Yeah, we can. I know.
That was strange too, because even I know they needed the win, but even Friday, Gallen went into the 7th, and I was just thinking
Well,
that's
since he lost, got him in, and since he was up 10-0 by the time Houston and Arizona took the field, and I know you're like, oh, since he can come back, we don't want to, we're a young team, we just want to get in the playoffs. I get that, but why pitch him into
down
the 6th
10-0?
inning?
yeah,
Since he was down 10-0.
yeah. There's a difference between get a quality starter out of Gallen and putting him in for the set. He was at he was pushing almost 100 pitches. He went into the 7th inning, and I was just like, that's just crazy, because I know the Phillies are in a different situation, but Zach Wheeler threw 50 pitches his last outing or whatever. Like, it just there's like, it's, I don't know. I didn't understand why Gallen got the nod for the 7th there, where he's not going to be able to be used until later on in the series.
I have a soft spot for Arizona. I'm going to take him at the plus price here. No Woodruff from Milwaukee. I don't know. Sometimes these teams they're young. They don't know any better. They don't feel the pressure. They just come in fast and loose. It's a young team. They're fast. They play good defense. If you could ever steal this one, and you got Gallen tomorrow, that puts all the pressure on Milwaukee tomorrow. Burns has been good, but he was shaky the first half of the season. I don't know. Just got a little hunch on Arizona. I think it's a nice plus price. I want to root for him. So I can see people making the case for Milwaukee, but I like Arizona here.
I'm glad you said that. I'm glad you said that only because I'm glad that we didn't just pick all the favorites for game 1 and be like, this is our show, right? It's good. I have less of a feel about this game, at least game 1 in series, as of the other ones. But Josh, do you have like a strong? I feel like are you on the Brewers?
No, I mean, I do like the Brewers. I thought they were sneaky, but Corbin Burns has been touched up a bit over his last 5 starts. He's got 2 really bad ones in there. I think I'm the biggest Brandon Pfaadt fan on the show for sure. I was ridiculed for talking about him once, I remember.
Yes.
Which is fine, because I just wanted to talk about my fantasy team name, which is He's So Pfaadt right now.
Jesus.
But I don't know. I don't like. I gave a fart noise when we started talking about this game, because I don't really want to touch it. But if you're going to find value plus 146 for that Diamondbacks team, if you like them that much, then take them while you get such an uneven pitching matchup. And
if you have some weird books, I'm seeing some plus 150s, plus 155s.
I'm seeing plus 155 at Rivers.
Are you?
Yeah. I think
honestly, I didn't touch this game.
Honestly, as a person wearing a Phillies hat right now, as much as the Phillies struggle with the Marlins, I was really happy to avoid the Diamondbacks team, for all the reasons that Will just said. They just have that. They just play baseball right. It's little things like that where bad defense can change the whole outcome of a 3-game series, and there's
no pressure on them too. They're young, they're dumb, they don't know any better. They're just going to come in, they're going to play their game. You know what? Miami's like that too, I guess. Yeah. Look, we can get to that.
I thought you were talking about Miami for a second.
No, Miami's the same thing. It's just Miami doesn't have Alcantara's hurt, Uri Perez is hurt. Arias, I think he's going to play, but he was on one leg the other day. Miami's getting good. It's minus 150 for Philly. Wheeler against Luzardo. I like Philly here. I think this is cheap on Philly. That's a brutal place to play. You got 40,000 people like Brian screaming their head off, saying mean things to the Marlins.
I'll be there, guys.
Are you going tonight?
I'm debating going tonight. I have tickets for tonight that I have a chance to flex them or not, but I'm definitely going Thursday if need be. I'm just trying to decide if I want to go to both or not.
This is cheap to me. I like Wheeler. I feel like I'm falling into a trap, but my goodness, this is a tough spot.
It's going to depend on how many Mike's cards you have, Brian.
Yeah. Okay. Fuck you, dude. I was going to say it was.
The Marlins have the worst run differential for a playoff team, I think.
Yes.
Baseball.
Yes, that's a good point.
Is that a good enough reason to fade them?
It's funny. They gave up as many runs as the Cubs did, the exact same number. I think it's 722, and the Cubs scored 180 more runs, and the Marlins are in. The Cubs are out. And the Marlins are minus 88 in run differential. The Mets are only minus 15, and the Mets have been eliminated since April 6th. It's really bizarre.
Can the Mets be the Chargers of the MLB then?
No, they're the Giants.
They always lose those one run games.
Yeah. The Mets are the Jets. The Mets are
the Jets. Sorry.
I'll say this. Like I said, as a guy that huge Phillies fan, I try to bet without that, in my heart or my head or whatever you want to call it. But if this team, you mentioned that atmosphere in Philly, they got 3 games. Philly, if I'm tonight, stole a home run in the first inning or something like that, it's that place is gonna be rocking and drunk the entire game. It's just so hard to rally if you're down in that atmosphere. That I do think that a guy like Luzardo that's been struggling on the road a lot, if he gets hit in the first inning or the second inning and they have to come back 2-3 runs, it's just gonna be so tough with Jack Wheeler on the mound in that building.
Yeah. No
Are you betting
disagreement
Philly?
there.
I actually did lay the -150. I know Brad took the -200 yesterday. I hate this, but I did put it in the Goldboys Discord earlier. I hate laying juice for props in the playoffs, but I did take a player performance double today where Zach Wheeler over 17.5 outs and the Phillies to win. I hate going over on outs for anyone in the playoffs, but if anyone's going to do it, Zach Wheeler did it every single game last year until the World Series. And the Marlins don't take any pitches that him at home under that crowd. I just think he steps up and, we talked about in a 3-game series, he's only going to be able to pitch one game. You're not going to be able to say piggyback him a different game for a 5 or 7-game series. That unless he like really struggles, I just don't see how he doesn't get to 6 innings if he's just playing as he should. And my big thing is rather than laying -130 on an over outs prop, I went with the +140 for the player performance double, just because I want the 70 cents juice. I don't want to lay juice, and if he's going 6 innings, he's got to be doing something right. So I think it would really help boost the victory there.
Like, I like Philly. I think they can make a run. I think they're dangerous. Like, that's a tough side of the bracket. The Dodgers get a break, I think, because Arizona or Milwaukee going to the Dodgers, especially the Brewers without Woodruff. I feel like the Dodgers, they're just going to outslug Milwaukee or Arizona. Atlanta gets a tough, even though they have the best record. If you have to see Philly in the division round, like, Philly's not afraid of them. They play tough games. They play them all year. They beat them last year. I feel like that's a tough draw for Atlanta. Atlanta's pitching, who knows? Fried's hurt, Morton's hurt, Strider is inconsistent. So I think Philly's live here. And that being said, you better win tonight if you're Philly, because things do get tight if you're down 1-0 and you have to see a game 3. Like, your pitching sort of runs dry. You don't really trust Nola. He's hit or miss.
Also, I'm about to say the same you just said there. It's Nola, but it's also Zach Wheeler is the guy.
Yes.
He's the guy that has to get you the win. Like, it's easier said than done, but it's like if you have one clear top of the spectrum of like pitchers,
Right.
you gotta give him the run support. Even 2 runs could be enough. Like, if he's on, like, you just gotta get the win at home under your ace.
Right. And look, we could talk about these games till we're blue in the face and give stats and give numbers and matchups and trends. Look, it's baseball. It's best 2 out of 3. Absolutely anything can happen. I mean, look, the A's lost how many games this year? They had a 7-game win streak. The Royals lost how many games? They had like 2 7-game win streaks. So a best 2 out of 3 in baseball is basically flipping a coin. Like, you want the better team, you want to look at the matchups, but absolutely anything can happen in this short of a series. Weird stuff happens in baseball.
Can I interest you in a fun bet that people can think that we have some fun here as well?
Sure.
I had 2 free bets on DraftKings. Kyle Schwarber's home run prop is very playable because it is against a lefty, but weirdly enough, he still averages 1 home run per 13 plate appearances against lefties, which is 15 home runs and under 200 at bats is great. He has 1 home run against Luzardo in 9 plate appearances in his career. So I did put a free bet on 1 home run for plus 425 and then plus 950 for the first home run of the game, because we talked about before, he gets that leadoff spot. A lot of his home runs come in that first inning. So Ballpark Pal has a 21% boost for home runs. So I just feel like if you're getting Kyle Schwarber at a price that's not plus 240 that you're used to seeing, why not have some fun with it?
Yeah, and there's markets for everything. Who's going to have the most home runs in the wild card round? Who's going to have the most hits, total bases? So if we had a longer show, we could go through all of these. How about World Series? Braves plus 300, Astros plus 450, Dodgers plus 450, Orioles 7-1, Rays 10-1, Phillies 13-1, Blue Jays, Rangers, and Brewers all 16-1, Twins 20-1, Diamondbacks 30-1, Marlins 35-1. If I had to take anything, I'd look at Phillies or I'd look at Twins.
Yeah.
I don't see any great numbers. You're probably just better off playing series by series and rolling it over. Yeah. I mean, the favorites are too short. I mean, Astros plus 450, that's just short. You still got to win 3 rounds.
It's short when there's a 3-game series too, that's so easy to lose. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't know if you had to bet anything there. What would you guys take a shot on?
I'm telling you, you've got me convinced a lot more about the Twins. I've been listening to a lot of talk about them. The Twinkies are intriguing me now because I do agree with the pitching, and that's what you follow. And if you're getting the best juice for a team that has, potentially the best rotation in the playoffs, 3-man at this point from top to bottom anyway, like no weaknesses in there, that feels right.
Yep.
Yeah,
like decent sprinkle.
Honestly, I have a free bet for FanDuel. Maybe I'll put on the Twins and
Twinkies.
Just root for a Twins Phillies World Series. I think that's the best way to do it.
That would be so weird. That would be so weird and so fun.
That'd be such a fun thing.
It was like when the Indians played in it. Sorry.
I think
Guardians.
I
No, they
think
were
it's
the
one of-
Indians.
No, they were
Yeah.
Indians at the time, yeah.
Yeah, you can't change history, but I was gonna
Yeah,
say
They
that's
were
true.
the Indians.
I will say it's one of those things where all love to JD, but I know he put in the group chat earlier saying like, oh, if you have any futures, share them with your channels. And it's one of those things where I have the Phillies 35-1. I have some other stock in other teams, but once you get into the playoffs, the lines are just so short. It's hard to
Yes.
really find value.
Yes.
If you're gonna have futures, you gotta try to maybe get the best value at a peak for a team. At this point, you're telling me you're betting a World Series future when there's still so many games to play and you're gonna get plus 250 on a team. It just
Yeah.
I don't care if it's like Jesus Christ
Insane.
himself's on the team. It's just like plus
It's insane.
250 is just a really rough
Right.
price.
Although Jesus can hit lefties and
I was
righties.
gonna say there was probably there's
He can
also
play
probably
center
somebody
field.
named Jesus Christ that's played in the MLB. So
How about
Oh
this
my
one at
God.
DraftKings? What is it? Twins to beat Phillies, 90-1. Phillies to beat Twins,
Oh, I'm
80-1.
taking
If you
that.
bet exact.
I don't care. I'll put $5 on that. That's so funny.
It's a fun one. I
I'm
mean,
still
that's
laughing at
very
Jesus
hard to
can
get
hit
home.
lefties. That's still cracking me up.
Uh,
Put that on a
He's-
t-shirt.
I mean,
he
these are
can he hit the curve?
yeah.
No.
I mean, I would think so. If he
Yeah.
can't, what hope is there for anybody else?
Oh man.
I mean,
I
these
wanna
are
take that.
hard to hit, especially. I mean, you think about it. You got to go through four. If you're picking a wild card team and you're picking exact matchup, exact like Phillies to beat the Twins, you got to win 3 rounds each and then get the World Series right. That's 7. I guess
I don't
after
even-
6 you can hedge it, but still, it's
I don't
tough.
even want to. I don't even do this thing where I don't even want to go to my Excel sheets and actually calculate like what the value would be on that because it would have to
Right.
be like negative 1,000 even. Like, I don't even want to try to do the math
do
on the
that,
probability there. Yeah,
Don't,
I would
don't
just
do
be
that. Yeah.
because I would
Just
to throw
cover your
$5
eyes real
on it.
quick.
I would throw $5 on it, and I just could not do that to myself to know how bad of a value that would be.
Yeah.
Right. All right, boys. Anything else?
Yeah.
My man.
All right. Enjoy the games. It's a fun day. We got a couple hours till they start. I wish they started one at like 1 o'clock, but that's not how it goes with baseball. They never give us what we want. But 4 games today. I think 4 games tomorrow, and then who knows about Thursday, depending on how many game 3s we get. And then the real
Really
thing I think
hoping-
starts Saturday, right?
I'm really hoping I
Yeah.
don't have to go to the Phillies game on Thursday. That'd be
Yeah.
a nice thing. I really hope it's one of those things where I would really hope I don't have to actually go. I would like
Yeah.
to just wrap it up in 2.
All right, boys. Thanks,
That's all.
Josh, Brian, Hall of Fame Bets, Pickett Sports, Sleeper Picks. We'll be back tomorrow, noon Eastern. Appreciate you guys for listening. See you tomorrow.